Welcome to Agri Talk, and thank you for keeping it KTN Farmers TV. Today we are going to talk about value addition, and with me in studio I'm with Angela Atieno, who is a food science expert, and she will help us break down some of the issues that are happening in the food value chain. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Thank you very much.
Please just tell us a little bit about yourself and exactly what you do as a food, as a value addition expert or as a food science expert.
Okay, my name is Angela, as mentioned. I'm a food scientist, and basically what I do right now, I am into value addition. And when you talk about value addition, it's quite broad because there are very many items that we work with. So I work with SMEs and in helping them set up, especially their factories, industries, or basic setup, work setup. So currently, I'm working with the Organic Fruiters and Vegetable Stores Limited, and we deal with organic foods, purely organic foods. So we work with COAN organization. We get the farmers that are contracted by them who are also certified as organic farmers. So we source from them and we sell.
Okay. When you talk about organic farmers, how big is that number at the moment? And what are some of the issues and challenges that is facing the organic production at the moment?
So when you talk about organic farming, actually there are very few farmers who are actually doing organic farming, because organic farming is something that it's not easy because we have pests and diseases everywhere. So in combating that, you get guys opt to do the artificial pesticides, which now changes to conventional farming. So organic farmers are very few, and at least there's COAN, which assists the farmers in combating such issues. So I got to find that there's very high demand of organic foods. So that is what we're actually doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a Kenyan and as a consumer, what is your advice to other Kenyans? We still consume a lot of not organic foods that are processed or produced using synthetic fertilizer and chemicals. If you compare the two, why is it important that we take on organic or we consume organic?
Okay, I'm not ruling out conventional farming. It's only that we've been having a lot of shortcuts when it comes to conventional farming, and it's a very huge, there's a concern, a food safety concern. So you get that, yes, you will apply the fertilizer, you do it right, you do it in the right time, you give the produce the right amount of time by the time you're harvesting, so that by the time it's consuming, we're not talking about the residues, the chemical residues in the produce. So when it's done right, then it's safe. But again, we have fear of losing. You have farmed very well, a week to harvest, you're having issues with pesticides, and you're forced to spray. Yeah. So when you're spraying, by the time you're supposed to deliver that particular amount of produce, it's not exactly safe because the residues are still high. But you do not mention again that we sprayed it last week. You will try to make it look safe, but you know deep down it's not very safe for consumption. So somebody will just eat it blindly and they will not know. So these issues bring effects later on in life, and you're not able to even find out what happened when. So I advocate for organic farming right now because it's the cleanest and safest food you can talk about. So I can advocate. It's not difficult to do, but it's doable. So if you can be able to venture into that, please do. I encourage that a lot. And
are there checks and balances to make sure that organic farmers also don't play tricks in the process of production of the food?
Yeah, there are ways that before you get even certified, your farming has to be inspected, it has to be monitored, and with that, there's the issue about documentation. Though these days people can easily forge documents, but when you're doing something that is legit, we will be able to tell, because when you're farming, there are constant farm visits. Somebody will want to monitor after every two weeks, or after every week. You can be able to tell all tests that are run for the produce so that you can ensure we are able to do it the right way. Because when you're not being honest about a particular thing, it will come to light at some point. Mm-hmm. So, and especially when you're talking about organic farming, even the produce, you can be able to tell this is organic and this is not organic. Okay. So even working with COAN, we have the experts, the agronomists, that they actually work with farmers and they assist. And most of the time, these farmers are actually out to do organic farming. And the commitment is what is key. So when you get somebody who is committed, then you know that this person is willing to take the risk in doing this farming, regardless of whatever challenges coming. Though I wholeheartedly thank Koan because they assist farmers in so many ways and in ensuring we do not count losses as an organization.
We remember also last year the government did a census and the population has really grown. The question would be, can organic farmers feed this population? Are they able to produce enough if given a chance and whatever they need? Will they be able to? Because what I understand is when you do organically, you don't produce as much as conventional farmers. So if given a chance and support, do you think they can feed the population?
Realistically, when you look at it, there are so many issues, especially when you talk about pesticides and diseases. It's a huge challenge. So we are having change in seasons and global warming. So the challenges are becoming even more with time. And organic farming is going to be, we will need a lot of support. But if we get enough support and enough facilitation that is required, it's very doable.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doable.
Okay. Now let's go back to the topic of the day, that was value addition. You say you work with SMEs.
Yeah.
Give us examples of these SMEs that you work with and what you process and how they are getting these organic products that they process.
So as at now, with the SMEs I have worked with the Equatorial Processing Company. It's located in the EPZ. So basically, we're doing
the producers of macadamia.
No, macadamia is 10 Senses Africa that I have worked with.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the EPZ, when we talk about fruits and vegetables, fruits and spices, the EPC, that is Equatorial Processing Company, located in the EPZ. So we're doing dried fruits, mango, pineapple, banana, and also spices like ginger. Yeah. So with that, we're trying to run trials so that we can be able to produce safe and nutritious food. And because most of the time, foods grown within the EPZ are for export. So you're looking at countries that do not have the tropical fruit. So even if you do a dry fruit, and they can still experience that, the experience of eating a mango, regardless of whichever situation it is. So there's that, and there's also the tropical fruit wineries. There are a number of youth that are trying to set up wineries, especially using tropical fruit. So I bring in the insight, talk about requirements, regulations, and basic setup mechanisms.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about winery, what we know we mostly use, is it the grape?
Yeah.
So do we have enough, or what are they using to make the wine?
So when you talk about wine, these days you can make mango wine. You can make banana wine. You can make pineapple wine. Yeah, it does not necessarily have to be grapes, though grapes are the indigenous crops that were used in making wine. So as part of value addition, we looked into it, and the way it's stated, wine, with time, it gets better. So post-harvest losses, we've had so many issues about post-harvest losses. Let's talk about when we are having a lot of mangoes in the market. When you go to the market, you will find the overripe are thrown. People count it as wastage. But again, when you're looking at winemaking, you need as much sugar as possible. You need it ripe. So whatever you're actually thinking is going to be a loss, it's a raw material for something else. And when you compare, for example, in making mango wine for a 750 ml bottle, and for example, we talk about 4 to 5 mangoes, which are sold at 30 shillings, that is 150 shillings. But when you're able to produce one bottle, you get production cost for that one bottle might cost you close to 200 shillings. But how much are you selling it for? So when you compare the margins, when you add value to an item, it's profitable and it's good business. Yeah.
So when you talk about value addition, how do we encourage our farmers to go that way instead of just selling it raw? Are there other ways that they can add value without necessarily coming to the EPZ?
Yes. There are very many ways. For example, I think there is minimal knowledge about value addition. That's where we're going wrong. There's so many things you can do. When you talk about fruits and vegetables, these days there's dried vegetables. People are drying kienyeji vegetables and they're selling. Another thing, and fresh produce, they are very perishable. So you're looking at a shelf life of about 1 week. And in 1 week, by the time you need to have gotten rid of that produce, because after that, you just count your losses again. But when you think about value addition, you can make juices, you can make concentrates, you can make jams, marmalades, and those are things that shelf life will go up to 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talked about dry vegetables, what comes to my mind is we have this cultural thing. I don't know whether it's cultural or it's something that we have gotten used to.
Yeah.
We believe that I need to eat what has just come from the farm. So when you tell me you want to dry vegetables and sell it to me, I'm wondering how will even that taste?
So I think basically we have grown in an environment where you go and pluck it from the farm and cook. So we are used to fresh. We're used to what we are having around. But again, sometimes, let's say like right now in Nairobi, you do not even have that room to farm, to have that kitchen garden, but you still need to eat. So when you're talking about value addition, for example, dried vegetables, you can still have that mrenda, you can still have that spinach or that kale dried. Yeah. So, and by the way, when you're eating it, it's not that it's crunchy or anything. You rehydrate. You can just cook it like a vegetable and it will come back to how you're supposed to eat it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the population rise, this can be one of the solutions.
Yeah.
When we have it in plenty, we also don't wait for it to wilt and spoil and we throw it away.
Exactly.
We can dry, package it nicely. So if I have vegetables and I will want to do it myself, what's the process?
So for example, you have vegetables and you have excess, and you'd want to venture into that line. So one, you will look at having a small area, and it depends with how you want to dry it. Some people use hand drying, of which it's best because you're not losing much nutrients, and it's cheap because you're not using any energy. So depends with what is your capacity and how far are you willing to go. Yeah. So you can decide to buy a dryer if you can afford it. Get a dryer that you can use and you're not worried about the safety, because again, in sun drying, when you put it out there, birds have their droppings around, so that's another issue. So it depends with how far you're willing to go. But when you're looking at food safety, you have to look at you have to ensure you get all the environment controlled. You can just get a dryer, a kawaida dryer. And these days we have the Juakali sector that guys are very innovative. You just tell them, I need this done, which can do this function and this function, and they get it done for you. So you can just get a dryer, dry. And with KEBS, working with KEBS, they can be able to also assist you, because they will come in and tell you if you want to get certification, you will need to ensure you do 1, 2, 3 so that you can be able to set up your food. You have to test it for any chemicals. You have to test it if it reaches the required quality requirements. And once that is done, then it's as simple as packing and getting it into the market.
So by just me drying and making sure it's dry well, packaging well, that is value addition.
You have added value. It's actually value addition. Even getting that milk from the cow and you have boiled it, you have added value to that milk.
So we always overthink when it comes to value addition.
Yeah.
We think we need to have these huge factories, we need a lines of what?
Exactly. It's very simple, because at some point I was hearing somebody saying, I do not eat processed things. But when you look at their shopping basket, they have milk that is packaged, they have tomato sauce. So you're like, when you're saying processed things, I do not quite get what you mean. Because even that milk, even if you get it from the cow, you will not drink it through.
True.
Yeah, you will heat it, and that heating, you're adding value to that milk, because one, you are, in case there is any bacteria, you're pasteurizing indirectly, that particular product. So you've added value of that milk. Sometimes they say when you milk, you boil it and then it will last until kesho, But when you do not do that, it might spoil at some point. So by just heating, you've added the value because now the shelf life has gone a bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even when I buy stuff and put them in my fridge, I'm still adding value.
No.
Okay.
So adding value, it's changing from the natural set. For example, a mango from the tree, when you have a mango, when you can clean it and sort it and pack, you have added value. You will not sell it the same way you'd have sold it from the tree.
Okay.
You have added value of that particular item.
So me elongating the shelf life is not adding value.
Elongating shelf life is adding value, but it depends with what method are you using to add that value. Storing in the refrigerator in your house, you're not adding value.
But I've elongated it would have spoiled by tomorrow morning.
No, you're not elongating the shelf life, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's new. Okay, so let's talk about also again, we'll go back to food safety.
Okay.
And I want us to start from the farm.
Okay.
We talked about earlier on about how food get contaminated along the way.
Yeah.
So tell us the process in where it is most dangerous for any produce if not taken care of properly between that value chain from the farm to the shelf.
So first, safety starts from the farm. How you have grown that crop matters so much because after harvesting, there's the handling and the sell and to the market. At that time, you are not even actually, the quality, you're trying to maintain that quality because there's nothing you can do about the quality from the farm. Yeah. So from the farm, you ensure you do the best. Ensure the produce, clean water, you're using clean water. If you're using fertilizers, recommended amounts. If you're doing organic farms, ensure you're using the recommended, for example, there's the organic pesticides. Like I got to understand that cow urine or donkey urine is used as a pesticide or foliar. Yeah. So if you're using anything, you're doing step by step because farming also, it's a whole process. Every step of the farming, you have to ensure you look at the safety aspects. For example, if you're using water from the river, these days the rivers are polluted. You get the effluents are leading to the rivers, and now the pesticides or the chemicals that are from the factories are what you're using again to water your crops. So you have to be really careful in production processes. And after producing now, after you have harvested, it has to be handled from the farm to the market. So how are you transporting that produce? Because now it starts to deteriorate very fast. If you're not doing value addition, the quality starts going down. Yeah. So how you're handling contamination? Are you putting it in a clean surface? Crates, for example, those are surfaces. If you do not clean your crates, you expect they're going to have a lot of bacteria. So you can have done everything well from farming, and by the time you're putting it in that dirty crate,
you spoiled everything.
It's something else again.
Oh.
So it starts going down. It even goes worse. And we as human beings, again, we are also carriers of bacteria. It's natural. There's nothing you can do about it. You can go and shower and come back. After a few minutes, you're full of bacteria again. So how you're also interacting with that food says a lot about safety. So if you do not wash your hands frequently, if you do not ensure you're wearing clean PPE, for example, if it's dust coats or aprons, you cover your hair properly when you're handling that particular food, you're also a risk factor to safety.
Okay.
Yeah. So transportation from that point, sometimes I see guys transporting, for example, mangoes in Merisho to go pick up and they're off to go.
But that's what we do for everything.
Exactly.
Just
so
get a pickup.
You can imagine how many things they're interacting. So by that time, and especially for fruits, those are items you're not going to cook them so that you can think about heat, which is going to also it's going to help in killing bacteria. That is something you eat as it is. So it will only come and then you clean. Though these days I have seen people looking at veg wash, for example, something organic you can use to clean and it will disinfect that particular product before you eat. So those are, and not everybody can afford that again. You know, for example, somebody staying in the village, you will go and get it from the farm or from the market and then you just come wash it and eat it. So depending on how it was handled until when it gets to you, then there's a lot of things that need to be monitored at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you talk about monitoring and making sure that we have we keep that environment all along very clean and safe.
Yeah.
The big issue is our markets also. Most of our markets are open air.
Yes.
And sometimes when it rains, it's a mess. So what do we need to do to ensure that even these markets are safe enough? Maybe everything was done right from the farm to the gate of the market.
Yeah.
So what needs to be done, or who is supposed to make sure that the markets are up to par?
So as at now, first, there are those traders. Most of them may not have that knowledge about safety, how food handling affects the quality or the safety of particular food. I think we should start with them, because now they're the people who interact with that. Why don't we have sessions with them? Let us get to make them understand this is what we mean when we talk about food safety. Somebody will just buy it and then put it down on display. There are cars which are passing by, the motorbikes passing by, so you get that there's the exhaust, the smoke. You get there's mud, actually sometimes mud or water. So they just wipe with the kakitamba and return it back there, because they do not know what it impacts that item. So I think the knowledge or the information needs to be disseminated to all people, so that any person in the food handling line, they should get to understand, if you're handling food, these are the risks that are involved. So when we go to the market traders, we can have sessions with them. They get to understand, when you bring this food, sometimes, they do not understand. They just say, I received, nilipata mzigo, after 2 days, hii mzigo ni mbaya, iliharibika. But you do not understand that sometimes it's you who caused that to happen. Maybe you put it in a very bad surface, or you stored it in manners which enhance spoilage. So I think that's where we need to start from. Because when they understand that, and these days I have seen there's some improvement. The markets are being constructed, they're having surfaces, but people are still opting to go and put down there. Yeah. So I think first they need to understand, why do we even have to have the market improved in the first place? There's a reason as to why it's done like that. Because if you do not understand why things are done in a particular manner, you may not get the concept.
Angela, I think we'll take a short commercial break, but we will be back to continue this conversation. For those watching at home, today we are talking about value addition. Please don't change the channel. We will be back shortly.